Hello. After many false starts, I'm doing another video. So I'm still going over the power and force grid. Sorry, I should probably stop and introduce myself just in case this is the first video you're coming upon. My name is Coco, and this channel is, I'm doing this channel together with my friend Adam, and our goal is to find the joy, follow the joy, feel the joy. So we are both looking for ways to make joy a habit in our lives. And so we started off by doing Marco Polo back and forth, just reminding each other to find the joy, find the joy, find the joy. Neither of us have particularly exceedingly difficult lives. We're just up against the regular malaise of living and having various physical ailments. I have just the trials and travails of being a single mother with a special needs child. And it's just all about the dailiness and finding the joy in the day. So in my earlier videos, what Adam and I have been looking at is this book called Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins. And in my first two videos, I have gone over this, this grid that you can find online. I printed this out, as you can see, dropped some water on it. It's just a messy piece of paper. And I read through all of these to talk about from the lowest vibration, which Dr. David says is shame, which is almost close to death. He says it goes shame, then guilt, then apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride. At that point, you will cross over from forcing things in your life to being more powerful in your life. And that begins at courage, neutrality, from courage to neutrality to willingness, to acceptance, to reason, to love, to joy. And then up above joy is peace, and then finally enlightenment. And hey, I won't say no, but why am I in soft focus? There we go. Phone, do what you're supposed to do, phone. Don't be a phone, be a camera. Okay, so courage is at the level of 200, and the emotion it creates in a person is affirmation, and the life view is feasible. Neutrality creates a level, a vibrational level, I'm supposing, at 250. The emotion that you feel is trust. And your life view is satisfactory. In my last video, I mentioned Lao Tzu, and that my religious background started with Church of England, which I think is pretty obvious from the accent, went to Catholicism, which is what my family actually wanted for me. They weren't very happy that I was Church of England. Then it went on, when I finally was old enough to start thinking about things on my own and researching things on my own, while I liked Confucius and I liked Eastern philosophy. I liked Confucius, I liked Buddhism, but for some reason Taoism just really made sense to me. So reading the Tao Te Ching, I really understood it. I felt like I interpreted it in such a way that allowed me to live my life authentically in the way I wanted to live it. So in saying satisfactory, 250, neutrality, I would say probably in my lifetime, that's the highest I've ever gone. That's the highest vibration I've ever gone to, is neutrality, where I've simply been satisfied with my life. And it makes me think of an allegorical painting, which is meant to illustrate for people the three different teachings of China, which were Buddhism, Confucianism, and Taoism. And it's called The Vinegar Tasters. And three men are standing around a vat of vinegar, and they're tasting the vinegar. And they have expressions on their face. And the Buddhist is, I believe he's disappointed. He doesn't like the flavor of life. And if you think about Buddhism is all about, transcending the world of dust and just not being here, finding nirvana. I think that's right. It's been a while since I've read it. Confucius, the Confucian is I knew it. Just very sardonic and sarcastic and, you know, I guess feeling a bit full of themselves, I would say. Because Confucius had like an answer to everything, right? And he had a way of doing everything. Whereas Lao Tzu is tasting the vinegar and he's like, aha. And he's just accepting that that is the flavor of life. Sour, it's bitter, it's not terribly pleasing. It's just the flavor of life. And I don't know if it just speaks to me because I come from, you know, a background of English people that wish to be very humble and prefer it if you just know your place and get on with things. Maybe that's why it appeals to me. I don't know. But everyone can choose what they like. That's the joy of this world. So let's go with, I believe I read what Dr. David means about neutrality. And now let's look at willingness, which is at a level of 310. And that creates the emotion of optimism and a life view of hopefulness, which I mentioned that I have not been very hopeful the last 5 years. I lost my husband, my business. I didn't lose him. Sorry, he didn't die. He didn't die. He had a relationship with other women, and that's what he chose. But at the same time, he also got me evicted and ruined my business, and I had a brand new baby at the time. So it was just a lot to put on my shoulders. He took everything away that I had worked to build, including the marriage and trying to create like a safe home, because that was my dream, was to create a safe home for my child, because I had the opposite of that. He just took everything. He didn't take my kid, thank God. So it's just been me and the baby, and it's been real hard, just day in and day out, facing the world alone and broke and homeless. Really hard to hold on to any sense of hope. So, but 5 years later, it's just a short half a decade later, life is a lot better. As you can see, I'm in my own living room. That has been an enormous gift, and I'll be more than happy to tell you the story. But for now, let's see how far I can cycle through these, focus. There we go. How far I can cycle through these vibrations. So energy level, 310, willingness. This very positive level of energy may be seen as the gateway to the higher levels, whereas, for instance, jobs are done adequately at the neutral level. At the level of willingness, work is done well and success in all endeavors is common. Oh, gosh, I think I'd like to live like that. I genuinely believe the highest I've ever gone is neutral. I think I've seen other people living in willingness, and it's been like, it's been like white noise to me. I don't get what you're doing. Why would you do a good job? Don't understand it. Okay. Willingness, work is done well, and success in all endeavors is common. Growth is rapid. These are people chosen for advancement. It was never me. It was never me. Now I know why. Okay, willingness implies that one has overcome inner resistance to life and is committed to participation. Below the 200 calibration level, people tend to be closed-minded, but by level 310, a great opening occurs. Ooh, 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 I want it, I want it, I want it, I want it. Okay. At this level, people become genuinely friendly and social, and economic success seems to follow automatically. The willing are not really troubled by unemployment, for they will take any job when they have to, or create a career or self-employment for themselves. I know I've had these ideas, and I've certainly tried. And sometimes I've succeeded, and sometimes I haven't. They do not feel demeaned by service jobs or by starting at the bottom. They are naturally helpful to others and contribute to the good of society. They are also willing to face inner issues and do not have major learning blocks. So I'm having some resistance here, I'll be honest, emotionally speaking. This is my issue, is that I grew up partly in England. I grew up partly around the San Francisco area. And around the San Francisco area, there was a lot of interest in things like crystals and meditation and, things that you might deem airy-fairy, but sorry. But I just had a salad. But that do have some of its own merit. But I feel like I can't get this camera to focus. What does it keep focusing on? I feel like, because what I've been learning lately is that a lot of issues in this world are created by personality disorders that will never change. And so I am having some resistance to this. I'll tell you this much. I know I can find joy, but I don't think that people with personality disorders, I don't think they're capable of it. Which makes all of this moot, including the teachings of the Dalai Lama, including the teachings of Jesus Christ, if you believe in him. I do, but including the teachings of Gandhi, and they are naturally helpful to others and contribute to the good of society. See, I felt like I did that a lot, and what I ended up with was a lot of wasted energy. That one I'm going to struggle with, and I'm actually going to underline it. I'm going to underline it. They are naturally helpful to others and contribute to the good of society, because I feel emotional resistance happening in my chest as I read that. They are also willing to face inner issues and do not have major learning blocks. I can do that. Don't any major. Anyway, moving on. It's like every time I express how I feel, the next sentence busts my chops. I kind of love the book for that. At this level, self-esteem is innately high and is reinforced by positive feedback from society in the forms of recognition, appreciation, and reward. Willingness is sympathetic and responsive to the needs of others. See, that is me, but too much. I fall over into codependency, and I start giving up my whole life and all my time for someone who just won't ever learn. So, struggling. I'm struggling. This is why the highest I've ever gone is neutrality. Willing people are builders of and contributors to society. With their capacity to bounce back from adversity and learn from experience, they tend to become self-correcting. Having let go of pride, they are willing to look at their own defects and learn from others. At the level of willingness, people become excellent students. They are easily teachable and represent a considerable source of power for society. Okay, I'm gonna, think about it. Sorry. Focus, phone. I'm sorry, I don't know why my phone's doing that. Okay. The next one is, so willingness creates optimism and your life view is hopeful. The next level is acceptance, which you're at a level of 350. That creates the emotion of forgiveness, which actually is really great. If you've never forgiven, give it a try. You'll find that you benefit more than they do, because you get to just put down this tension, and I think the biggest lesson for me that I learned from forgiveness was from the great orator Joss Whedon from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He wrote a line that said, "Forgiveness is an act of compassion. You don't do it because a person deserves it. You do it because they need it." And I hadn't understood forgiveness before that. I'd always seen it as weakness. Okay, let's move on to acceptance, which creates forgiveness, and your life view is harmonious. Yeah, no, I've never, ever reached these levels of vibration. I'm excited to read about them. Energy level 350, acceptance. At this level of awareness, a major transformation takes place. with the understanding that one is oneself the source and creator of the experience of one's life. Taking such responsibility is distinctive of this degree of evolution, characterized by the capacity to live harmoniously with the forces of life. All people at levels below 200 tend to be powerless and see themselves as victims at the mercy of life. Ooh, definitely felt that for, 40-odd years. This stems from a belief that the source of one's happiness or the cause of one's problems is out there. An enormous jump, taking back one's own power, is completed at this level with the realization that the source of happiness is within oneself. At this more evolved stage, nothing so-called out there has the capacity to make one happy, and love is not something that is given or taken away by another, but is created from within. I'm really struggling with that one. I'm going to underline it. Love is not something that is given. So this actually brings me to my own personality disorder, which is attention deficit disorder. One of our several problems is our inability to feel love. So one of the great things about being ADD is you don't tend to have an addictive personality, but the flip side of that is that because you don't become attached to anything, because you don't have enough pleasure feelings like food or drinks or whatever, or drinking or sex or whatever causes people to become addicted. We might get like a little obsessive on it for a little while, and then the next day we just forget because it didn't kick in the right amount of oxytocin or whatever else goes through the brain. So we have a really hard time believing it when people say they love us because we can't feel it. So maybe this book is entirely lost on me because I have a personality disorder. Maybe I'm just interested in this for the 5 minutes that my mayfly of a brain, a mayfly of an attention span, is interested in it, and then tomorrow I'll be trying to do a cooking show. Who knows? So, acceptance is not to be confused with passivity, which is a symptom of apathy. Is it? I didn't know that. This form of acceptance allows engagement in life on life's own terms, without trying to make it conform to an agenda. With acceptance, there is emotional calm and perception is widened. With acceptance, there is emotional calm and perception is widened as denial is transcended. One now sees things without distortion or misinterpretation. Can I just say that living amongst autistic people all my life, misinterpretation was rampant to the point where I don't actually believe anyone understands me when I talk. And I don't know if it's a gift or a curse that I was an only child. So I don't care. I'll just keep talking. I'll just keep talking because I'm listening. But misinterpretation has been a bane upon my existence. Very, very hurtful when my kind thoughts and words and actions are completely misinterpreted and suddenly I'm being accused of all sorts of things. It's just not a great way to live. The context of experience is expanded so that one is capable of seeing the whole picture. Ooh, I think this might be the word woke. Has anyone heard the word woke? When you're woke? I woke up. Seeing the whole picture. Acceptance has to do essentially with balance, proportion, and appropriateness. Balance, proportion, and appropriateness. I can't figure out where to put those in my head. I like them. I want to keep them. Don't go away. Balance, proportion, and appropriateness. The individual at the level of acceptance is not interested in determining right or wrong, but instead is dedicated to resolving issues and finding out what to do about problems. Tough jobs do not cause discomfort or dismay. Long-term goals take precedence over short-term ones. Self-discipline and mastery are prominent. Ooh, this is scary, but I want to go there. I want to go to there. Big hero of mine, Tina Fey. I want to go to there. At the level of acceptance, we are not polarized by conflict or opposition. We see that other people have the same rights as we do, and we honor equality. While lower levels are characterized by rigidity at this level, social plurality begins to emerge as a form of resolution of problems. Dr. David, what did I tell you about inaccessible verbiage? Therefore, this level is free of discrimination or intolerance. There is the awareness that equality does not preclude diversity. Acceptance includes rather than rejects. This is a really tall order, can I just say? Like, I love all of these ideas, but the reality of living with them are not that easy. That being said, I am going to move on to what's above acceptance is reason. Reason is at a level of 400. The emotion is understanding, and the life view is meaningful, which is really nice because I do hear from a lot of people, life has no meaning, life has no meaning. What are we doing all this for? Energy level 400, reason. Intelligence and rationality rise to the forefront when the emotionalism of the lower levels is transcended. Reason is capable of handling large, complex amounts of data, making rapid, correct decisions, understanding the intricacies of relationships, gradations and fine distinctions, and expert manipulation of symbols as abstract concepts, which become increasingly important. This is the level of science, medicine, and of generally increased capability for conceptualization and comprehension. Knowledge and education are sought as capital. Understanding the information are the main tools of accomplishment, which is the hallmark of the 400 level. This is the level of Nobel Prize winners. Kendrick Lamar. It's the level of Nobel Prize winners, great statesmen, and Supreme Court justices. Well, that's debatable, but let's go with it. Einstein. Freud. Why are we always talking about Freud? Can't we talk about Carl Jung a bit more? I like Carl Jung better. Jung, beg your pardon. Freud's all right, but you know, he did sort of recant everything he said before he died. Anyway, and many of the other great thinkers of history also calibrate here. The authors of the great books of the Western world calibrate here. Great books of the Western world is italicized. So I'm assuming that means something. I'm so not well read. The shortcomings of this level are the failure to clearly distinguish the difference between symbols and what they represent, and confusion between the objective and subjective worlds that limits the understanding of causality. At this level, it is easy to lose sight of the forest for the trees, to become infatuated with concepts and theories, ending up in intellectualism and missing the essential point. Intellectualizing can become an end in itself. Reason is limited in that it does not afford the capacity for the discernment of essence or of the critical point of a complex issue, and it generally disregards context. Reason does not of itself provide a guide to truth. It produces massive amounts of information and documentation, but lacks the capability to resolve discrepancies in data and conclusions. All philosophic arguments sound convincing on their own. Although reason is highly effective in a technical world where the methodologies of logic dominate, reason itself, paradoxically, is the major block to reaching higher levels of consciousness. Transcending this level is relatively uncommon, by only 4% of the world's population. Okay, oh, hang on, mate. Like, 4%? Really? Where'd you do your testing? Because I don't remember anyone asking me. I mean, I haven't transcended reason. I've actually been quite unreasonable. But anyway, let's move on to love. Love. Oh, that great promise, that answer to everything. That massive disappointment and sadness and wonderful, wonderful, wonderful emotion. Love is at 500, which is a full 100 points above reason. It brings with it the emotion of reverence and a life view of benign. Energy level 400, reason. Intelligence and rationality rise to the forefront. Oh no, sorry, I already read that one. What am I on about? Energy level 500, love. Already talked about reason. Yeah, I guess it is easy to get stuck there, eh? Love, as depicted in the mass media, is not what this level implies. On the contrary, what the world generally refers to as love is an intense emotionality combining physical attraction, possessiveness, control, addiction, eroticism, and novelty. Oh, well, I'm glad somebody said it. That is true. It is usually evanescent and fluctuating, waxing and waning with varying conditions. When frustrated, this emotion often reveals an underlying anger and dependency that it has masked. That love can turn to hate is a common concept, but what is being spoken about rather than love is an addictive sentimentality and attachment. Hate stems from pride, not love. There probably never was actual love in such a relationship. Sorry, I need a minute. What? Hate stems from pride. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I just realized I have a friend I need to apologize to. Just dealing with this for a second. The 500 level is characterized by the development of a love that is unconditional, unchanging, and permanent. It does not fluctuate because its source within the person who loves is not dependent on external conditions. Loving is a state of being. It is a way of relating to the world that is forgiving, nurturing, and supportive. Love is not intellectual and does not proceed from the mind. Love emanates from the heart. It has the capacity to lift others and accomplish great feats because of its purity of motive. My cup overflows. Wow, that is... Anybody see Moana? And the heart of Te Piti. Oh, wow. I'm gonna keep reading this. Okay, let me see. Where are we? At this level of development, the capacity to discern essence becomes predominant. The core of an issue becomes the center of focus. As reason is bypassed, there arises the capacity for instantaneous recognition of the totality of a problem and a major expansion of context, especially regarding time and process. This is how you become a good parent. Understanding time and process and the the essence of a situation, the essence of a person. Reason deals only with particulars, whereas love deals with wholes, meaning WHOLES, not holes, not holes like my ear hole, the whole. This type of writing just makes me feel like anything else I say is utterly petty and so stupid. And I'm a little embarrassed that I'm crying. grown woman crying. This ability, often ascribed to intuition, is the capacity for instantaneous understanding without resorting to sequential symbol process. Oh God, maybe I've never felt love. Oh God, maybe I'm not loving. Oh God, freaking out. This apparently abstract phenomenon is, in fact, quite concrete. It is accomplished by a measurable release of endorphins in the brain. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. ADD. So then when I did have a baby and I was experiencing love, I think it was actually quite uncomfortable for me because the normal amount of endorphins were being released, but my brain wasn't accustomed. God, I wish I could feel that again. That was the best experience of my life, having a baby. Now I'm going to talk like Audrey Hepburn because that's how I sound when I'm crying. I'm kidding, I'm not gonna. Love takes no position and thus is global, rising above the separation of positionality. That's hard though in this day and age. It's hard. Love takes no position and thus is global. Rising above the separation of positionality. It is then possible to be one with another as there are no longer any barriers. Love is therefore inclusive and expands the sense of self progressively. This feels so dangerous to me. It feels so dangerous in this day and age when children are getting shot. I really love the idea, obviously, like I'm crying about it, and but it's like the only way love can exist is if you're in a giant castle, you know, that can be very, very well defended. Love focuses on the goodness of life in all its expressions and augments that which is positive. It dissolves negativity by recontextualizing it rather than by attacking it. On my good days, I can do things like that. This is the level of true happiness, but although the world is fascinated with the subject of love and all viable religions calibrate at 500 or over, it is interesting to note that only 4% of the world's population ever reaches this level of evolution of consciousness. Can I meet any of those 4%, and are any of them single males? Is that selfish? Like I said, I feel like anything I say here at this point is just utterly petty.